What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Cjthecheesedj here, and we are back with a new top 10 for you guys today. And today, guys, we're taking a look at the top 10 best dinos to breed. Now, guys, obviously in Ark, there's breeding, obviously, otherwise this wouldn't be a video. But breeding, you should be doing with every single dino. If you want a better dino and you want imprinting on it, you're obviously going to need to breed every single dino. However, this list is just going to be comprising of my top 10 recommendations. And you should get into these guys like straight away. And we'll go over the reasons why in the video. So if you guys find yourselves enjoying it, please don't forget to leave a like, subscribe if you haven't already. And without further ado, let's jump straight into it. So guys, coming in at number 10, we have the Daydon. Now, this top 10 is based on an all-round sort of thing. So PvP, PvE, all that sort of stuff. Now, you will need Daydons for the boss fights. As well as that you can use them during PvP. There are better healers, such as the Snow Owl, but the Daydon still does the trick. And you will need these guys for a lot of the bosses on the island, on Scorched Earth, on Ragnarok, on Valgyro, you name it, because of their healing. Now, when you breed these guys, you kind of want to try and get maximum stats into health and food. Which I know sounds absurd, because why would you want extra points in food? Main reason being because when you activate the Daydon's healing, it actually drains their food. You can see the food is draining. So obviously, the more food you have, the more healing you will be capable of doing. So I definitely recommend getting into these guys because they will be able to help you out with the boss fights. Not so much in PvP. They will still have their uses in PvP, but they're not as valuable as they would be for the PvE aspect. As well as that, you can actually take these guys into caves with you as well and heal any dinos that you bring with you and yourself. They are pretty good for clearing out caves. I have used them before. Obviously, there are better choices to take into caves. But if you do want a different sort of choice, you can take the Daydon in because he is able to heal himself. And these guys hit relatively decently. And if you've imprinted one, you're going to have that extra damage resistance and extra damage bonus. So definitely recommend the Daydons, and that's why they come in at number 10. Now, coming in at number 9, we have the Argentus. Now, this guy is one of the best flyers in the game, and the main reason you want to breed these guys up is because you can imprint on them to deal the extra damage, have the extra health and whatnot, but main reason being because you want to get the better weight on these guys. You can get weight on these guys that is astronomical, like literally. It is ridiculous how much weight you can get on these guys. What you want to try and aim for with these guys is, well, it depends on what you're going for. You can go stealth and weight for a long distance traveler that's able to ferry a lot of items, which is really good because you can also use that for PvP if you load these guys up with plenty of weight. Now, there are dinos that get more weight. However, it is still an option. As well as that, you can also spec the bird into a sort of fighter dino by leveling up its health and melee damage and trying to get those stats going. Because of its ability to consume corpses and gain rapid health regeneration, this guy can find himself in really long sustained fights against PvPers and stuff like that. Now, obviously, you're not going to be able to go toe-to-toe against wyverns and stuff like that, but you still have a chance of fighting them and whatnot. So, guys, I definitely recommend the Argentus. So, let's move on to number 8. Alrighty, guys, now coming in at number 8, we have the Therazino. This guy is awesome. He's got plenty of uses in PvP, but also in PvE. If you're playing on the island or anything with like bosses, and the dragon being the boss, you can use the Theri to fight the bosses and they take reduced damage from the fire attack because they're herbivores. As well as that, if you take these guys into PvP battle, they're able to knock off the players off the back of medium-sized mounts such as Strikes, Stegos, those sort of sized dinos, which comes in handy if you're trying to knock a player off a mount. As well as that, their attacks are really powerful and they do also knock out enemy players, which is really good. I've used many Theris to save myself during a raid because they've just gone in and absolutely decimated the player that was riding the trike. And then from there, we practically killed the trike and the player and stopped them from raiding us. As well as that, these guys are really good berry gatherers, really good wood gatherers, really good fiber gatherers, all that sort of stuff. They're really good. Breeding them, you want to try and go for melee damage and health, more so over than weight and everything like that, because you can still spec these guys to gather a crap ton of wood and just have something following behind to transport all the wood into. So I definitely recommend getting into some Theris, but let's move on to the next dino. Now, coming in at number 7, we have the Snow Owl. The Snow Owl is definitely something you need to breed. It's great because it's got a better healing effect, I reckon, than the Daydon. Now, obviously, it freezes the dinos that it's healing as well as itself, but nonetheless, that healing effect is a lot better than the Daydon. You want to try and go for stamina on these guys if that's what you want to go for on healing, but you can also use these guys in PvP, obviously to heal your own dinos, but also to freeze enemy players, to freeze them in place, knock them off mounts, and to just dive bomb them, which is really effective in PvP combat. And as well as that, you can also use these guys to soak, believe it or not. If you get into the right vantage point and fly up, you can see here that the snow owl actually blocks the rider pretty effectively. So, you know, you can fly up, soak a turret. If you've got a good saddle on them, you'll easily be able to protect yourself, depending on how many turrets they've got, obviously. But you can definitely protect yourself. Then when you're done, fly off and simply heal yourself up, which is really good. And it is an effective way to soak turrets. Obviously, it's not the most effective, but nonetheless, it is still an effective way. Now, obviously, if you bring any other dinos to soak the turrets with you as well, the snow owl can heal those guys up pretty quickly once again. And yeah, they're definitely well worth breeding up, I would recommend. As well as that, they've obviously got the diving ability, so you can take them diving and traverse the map really quickly. You want to try and focus on stamina and weight on these guys if that's the case. But yeah, these guys are really good dinos to breed up, and I'd recommend getting yourself a couple of snow owl lines. Also, once you get mutations on these guys, their colors look absolutely phenomenal. So let's move on to the next dino. Now, coming in at number 6, you most likely saw this guy coming into the list. We have the Rex. The Rex is one of those tanks that you definitely just want a whole army of. They're all-round mounts for pretty much everything. Boss fights, PvP. You can use these guys for whatever you want. They're really obviously effective in boss fights. They are effective in PvP to an extent. There are obviously stronger creatures you can use, hence why the Rex is higher up on the list. But, you know, you definitely want a decent line of imprinted Rexes with plenty of points into health, plenty of points into melee damage, especially if you want to do those boss fights to get into the tech stages of the game. But other than that, guys, there's not really much else to say about the Rexes. Definitely want a breeding line of these guys because of all the reasons that I've listed. So let's move on to the next dino. Now, coming in at number 5, guys, we have the Woolly Rhino. Woolly Rhino is definitely one of those dinos for both PvP and PvE. Depends if I can get around this damn rock, though. So these guys have the ability to charge up and attack. You can see in the right-hand middle of the screen, they've got the little red reticle going up. This is their charge strength. Now, when that gets to the max, they absolutely hit like a freaking truck. It is nuts, the damage they do. And for this particular purpose, they really excel in PvP because they can easily dish out a crap ton of damage to Gigas, to anything that takes damage, and kill it pretty much instantaneously. I mean, instantaneously is probably a bit of a stretch, but mind you, once you get these imprinted, bred up, you've got the right stats on them, their health and their melee and their stamina, or whatever the heck you want to level up on them. As long as it's got the melee damage, you can use these guys to just kill practically anything. As well as that, they're also really effective against boss fights, especially the Ragnarok map boss fights, which a lot of people do boss fights on because they're one of the easiest ones, especially once you've got a group of rhinos, and you only need like 3 or 4 rhinos to actually do the bosses successfully because they deal that much damage, which is why you want to breed them. You want to get them imprinted on. You want to get good saddles for them. So I definitely recommend getting yourselves some rhinos if you haven't got them already, because these guys are amazing. So let's move on to the next one. Now, guys, coming in at number 4, we have the Ferrox. The Ferrox is one of those dinos new to the world from obviously the Genesis map, and these guys are great. They're really PvP orientated as well as PvE orientated. They're a mixture of both because they're able to scale the map very quickly using their jumping ability. So when you jump and you trigger it at the right time, again, you trigger like a chain reaction, causing yourself to jump even further and faster, which is really good. Now, in terms of PvP, you can use these guys to destroy stone structures. They're able to take on tech replicators and destroy them by using their boulder throw. Now, the boulder throw is the C button, and you can actually throw this boulder pretty damn far. We're going to line it up here for you, and we're going to lob that. Look at that bastard fly. Look at how far it goes. It goes very far, and it's very dangerous, and it deals a crap ton of damage, especially if you're imprinted and you've got the melee damage stats really leveled up. It helps if we can actually hit our boulders though. Let's try and get another one on these poor little beavers. Oh, hold on, there we go. Now you've seen the damage. 401 damage. Mind you, no extra levels, no imprinting, nothing of the kind. Now, this will easily decimate players and tames, and if you want them to be a little bit more defensive, you can also chuck a helmet on them. So you get a really good flak helmet with like 400 defense and heaps of durability. You're going to be pretty sweet in terms of damage reduction. Now, as well as that, you can, in a way, use these guys to soak because they are very similar to the Gigantopithecus's. I wouldn't recommend it unless you know the enemy's turrets are set to tames, because otherwise you will just get shot off the back of it and then you can kiss your Ferrox goodbye. They can also scale wars really well. They cling onto them. Mind you, they have to be the 90-degree wars, otherwise you're going to have a bit of difficulty climbing it. But other than that, these guys dish out a crap ton of damage to wild dinos, to players, to tames, you name it, they can do it all. Now, obviously, you've got to make sure that you keep them fed well with the element. Otherwise, they're going to turn back into their little forms pretty quickly. Well, not pretty quickly, but over time, and lose that utility that they have in their gigantic forms. So make sure you've always got some element handy on you, and you'll be jumping around on one of these guys in no time. So let's move on to number 3. Now, guys, coming in at number 3, we have the Gasbag. Now, the Gasbag is one of those tames that I personally don't find many uses for during PvE, but in PvP, this guy is absolutely phenomenal. He doubles as a turret soaker, which is incredible. Pretty much all you need to do is puff up in air and back up towards turrets and you'll be sweet. He can soak up a crap ton of damage, especially if you get a really good saddle for this guy. And Gasbag saddles are pretty easy to come by in terms of like high level ones. As well as that, these guys have absolutely astronomical weight. Look at that, 5k weight off a level 150 max tame. No extra levels pumped into that. No breeding stats combined into it. Nothing like the sort, and it's already got 5k weight. So, when raids come around, you bring these guys with you, and they'll be able to ferry out all the goods you can carry. You will literally be able to slot cap these Gasbaggy boys, and still be able to fly out of the base relatively easy and relatively fast. These guys are incredible for PvP because of that massive weight capacity. In all honesty, I am 99% sure that these guys have the largest weight capacity of any dino on Ark, aside from like obviously the Titanosaur and like the Titans. The Gasbags is one of those dinos that has the largest weight capacity. So you definitely want to abuse that when PvPing and getting into bases, and when you need to obviously try and get out with the goods. These guys will excel at doing that for you because of that huge weight capability. But other than that, guys, they don't really have much of a use. Definitely try and imprint on them because they will reduce the amount of damage when soaking turrets and whatnot. But yeah, guys, that's gonna wrap up the number 3 dino. So let's move on to number 2. Now, coming in at number 2, we have the Megachelon. Once again, this guy is going to be a very good turret soaker because of his huge health pool. He's easy to come by saddles in the Helena supply drops that you get on Genesis, and transferring is enabled now, so you can take these guys with you, which is pretty good. They've got a huge health pool. Like, I'm talking tons. It's much larger than the Gasbags, and they also have a very large weight pool, so you can do the same sort of thing that you can do with Gasbags. However, I wouldn't recommend it with the Megachelons and loading them up because they have a very slow movement speed. You can see here, this guy is an absolute sloth. So I wouldn't recommend putting goods into this guy and trying to get away with him because you'll be doing that for a long time. But this guy is also very useful in PvE situations. You're able to build bases on the back of him. He can go through the water, and he's able to tank majority of the things that get him in the depths of the ocean. So you can definitely use this guy for the World of Ark and for PvP purposes. And if you breed them up, obviously you're going to get that damage resistance, you're going to get that damage buff, which on these guys for PvP is absolutely phenomenal. Because you can fill them up with veggie cakes, stick them in front of some turrets, and they will just soak the crap out of these turrets. Underwater in PvE situations, they'll be able to provide oxygen to you and your base on the back. So guys, the Megachelon comes in at number 2 on the list. Now, coming in at the number 1 spot, you probably saw this coming, we have the Magma Saw. Now guys, before we get into the Magma Saw, there is something that I quickly want to cover here. It was very tough to come up with the decision for the number 1 spot And in all honesty, I'm going to give it a tie here because the Magma Saw is great, but I do believe the Giga also deserves the #1 spot alongside the Magma Saw. Both of these dinos are not difficult to come by, but they're difficult to obtain, if that makes sense in a way. So breeding them up is a very easy way to get more of these guys in numbers, and they both have very good roles in PvE and PvP aspects of Ark. Obviously, the Magma Saw is capable of dealing with a crap ton of enemies using his area of effect attacks, his taunts. He's able to take out bases, metal bases with his searing spit attack, and not easily, but able to destroy turrets as well with it. Granted, if the turrets have ammo, they will try to shoot down the searing spit attack, but as well as that, he can also soak turrets using his crest, because you as the rider are protected on his back from turret shots with his head. And in PvE aspects of the game, he's able to gather a crap ton of metal. He's able to deal, obviously, a crap ton of damage to wild dinos. He's got decent weight, he's got decent health, decent melee damage, all that sort of stuff. You will need to breed him to get the best out of him, obviously for the imprint, for the extra stats if you've got multiple lines and whatnot. He is able to gather a crap ton of wood as well, which is really effective for him. But yeah, this guy is absolutely incredible for both PvP and PvE aspects of the game. Now, the same can be said for the Giga. You know, you want to get that imprint, you want to get that health bonus, the damage resistance, because you will be using this guy in PvP. This guy is one of the best dinos to bring with you in PvP because it just shreks and destroys everything it comes up against because of its damage, because of its health. You name it, it can pretty much do it. Only thing it's lacking is obviously stamina, but these guys pack a punch wherever they go, and you will be using these guys to fight enemy players for sure. Only thing you're going to watch out for is their rampage, because obviously it'll kick you off the back of them. But nonetheless, you definitely want that imprinting. You definitely want to breed for the selective stats for the Giga. And in PvE, you can definitely go toe-to-toe with practically anything with these guys. So it's definitely recommended to get these guys for PvP and PvE. That's why I've got to give the #1 spot to both the Giga and the Magma Saw. I think we've done a pretty good rounded off list. There are a couple of dinos that I do want to mention, such as the Bloodstalker. The Bloodstalker is definitely a very good mount to tame and breed up as well. It didn't get a spot on this list because I think I managed to cover pretty much a lot of the other aspects that the Bloodstalker can do. So hopefully you guys don't hate on me too much for that, but I definitely would recommend the Bloodstalker. Also another spot, the Utiranuses. Utis are really good because they've obviously got the Courage Roar and the Debuff Roar, and they pretty much have similar stats to the Rexes. However, I didn't include them because you don't really need an imprinted one, because you won't be taking them into battle. You mainly will be using them for their Courage Roar and their Debuff Roar, especially when soaking turrets and stuff like that. But yeah, guys, another one is the Megatherium. Megatherium for the Broodmother boss fights, for clearing out the Swamp Cave. Other than that, it doesn't really have too many other uses. But yeah, hopefully I made a well-rounded list for you guys. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe down below for more. But other than that, guys, I will catch you in the next one.